evening, everybody, and welcome to another session with Mark Sims for the 8 doctors. My name is Nina, and I use the pronouns of she and her. I'm coming from the 519 Early On Glitterbug program. And with me here today is our fabulous and wonderful Mark Sims, who will be doing our 8 week session. Well, 8 sessions with us, 4 week session with 8 sessions with us. Before we officially start, I would like to start us off with the land acknowledgement to honor and the land that we're on, and also take the time to reflect about how we can take part in reconciliation and what we can do to be reflective of our practices in our daily living and really acknowledge the land that we're on. And because the 519 is currently situated at downtown area of Toronto, we'll be doing the land acknowledgement for Toronto. Let me just share my screen. Oopsies. Nope, not chat. And make sure I'm sharing my volume. So much, everybody, for taking that time to listen to our land acknowledgement and to also taking the time to reflect. I will then take it away to Mark.
Okay.
There you are.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nina. Let me this. And share my screen. Okay, there we go. Good evening, folks, and welcome back to another session of the 8, I'm going to say the 8 natural doctors. These doctors don't cost, they don't charge you anything. They're very inexpensive in terms of what you need to do in order to maintain or even to regain your health. So today we're looking at exercise. And all right, so we start off with this quote. Exercise not only changes your body, it changes your mind, your attitude, and your mood. Now, who knew? Well, I did, and I'm sure some of you know as well. And because we kind of did something around exercise a few months back, I'm thinking maybe maximum 3 months ago. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not too good on dates or distances, but I get along. So we talked about how it was the first one I did for the 519, and it talked about food and your mood. Now, this now also incorporates exercise because I incorporated in that talk, it was food and your mood, also exercise and sleep. So today we're expanding on that. So we're focusing now on exercise. So exercise not only helps to improve your mind, which we're going to go further into, and not only helps with your mood, which we're going to go further into, but it also helps with your physics, with your physiology, with your physique. So when we look and see what exercise does for us, we'll get a better concept and hopefully we'll be motivated to continue. And if we haven't started, to start exercising. So what is exercise? So when you look for the definition of exercise, you'll see it says any movement that makes your muscles work and requires your body to burn calories. So any movement, whether you're running, you're walking, whether you're doing yoga, and you see swimming up here, weight training. So any movement that requires your body to burn calories. So I like to do a variety of things. I like to play basketball and go for hikes. So I'm kind of an all-rounder. The only thing I don't really do is play ice hockey, and that's only because it's too cold. I do go skating, and the good thing is when I'm skating, I can always come off the ice and go warm up. So I do that. So exercise, your movement, and those movements have to be doing something in terms of you burning calories. So you're using up that fat store, or you're burning off the carbohydrates, and carbohydrates are those fuels we talked about with nutrition. So it fuels the body. Now, these are what you call 7 primal movements. So from age 0 to about 2 years old, or close to 2 years old, there are 7 movements that an infant does, and they only do these 7 movements. And here they are. So bending. Now you want to make sure that as you get older, you're able to do these 7 movements. So I'm going to talk about bending now. So bending, when you get older, you want to make sure that if for some reason you drop $100 on the floor, or you see $100 on the ground, that you're able to bend and pick it up, or that you're using the bathroom and you want to get back up. You don't need to be assisted, or you're sitting on your chair, your lazy boy, or your rocking chair, whatever kind of chair you're sitting on. You want to make sure that you're able to get back up without somebody having to pull you up. The other one is lifting. So again, lifting things, and please make sure you're lifting the right way by bending the knees and using your legs to lift, not just bending at the hip, because you end up hurting your back by doing that. But lifting, that's another primal movement. The other one now will be throwing. So throwing things. You see an infant, they'll be throwing their soothers, or they'll be throwing their little rattle at you. You want to make sure you're able to do that when you are 88 years old. The other one is pulling. So again, those infants are constantly pulling on stuff. You'll see them going over to the table and pulling on the tablecloth. So you, as you get older, as we get older, we want to make sure that we're able to pull. And pulling requires so many different muscles for that action to actually be completed. So you're pulling and you're using your bicep, you're using your forearm, so your grip strength. You're also using, believe it or not, your pectoral muscles. You're also using your core for that. So pulling is a fantastic exercise. Reaching. So again, those little guys, they're reaching for things that are not close to them. So we also want to make sure that as we get older, we do have the ability to reach. So as we get older, if we're not constantly doing these movements, then we'll find that our range of motion is limited. So instead of being able to reach over our heads, we can only reach maybe eye level and not even get a full extension, because those muscles have basically, and I'm going to use words, seized up, but that's not really it. But they've lost their elasticity. They've lost their ability to reach to their full extent. Now, that's not to say that if an individual doesn't start exercising and doing stretches, that they won't regain some of that elasticity, that range. That's not to say that. But it's better for you to maintain than to try and regain. So I like that. I just thought of that. So it's better for you to maintain than try and regain. And your other primal movement is walking. Now, again, so when that infant starts to walk, you'll see they start to wobble, and then they get up and they're wobbling, and they'll fall until eventually their legs become strong, and then they're able to walk independently without falling down. So it's the same thing. As we get older, we want to make sure that we do have the strength in our legs so that we are able to walk around. And when I'm not talking about the shuffle walk, which is the little when you walk and you're dragging your feet, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about walking with strength in your strides, walking with your body erect, not leaning forward, walking so that you are getting that cardio burn. You're getting that energy flowing through your limbs. And the last is twisting, so that you're able to twist and not feel discomfort in your torso, so your spine or your hips Your knees are not bothering you. So you're able to twist and move around. So these are your 7 primal movements. You notice running is not part of it, because before that infant can, toddler then, can run their first walking. So the primal movements are the movements that you are basically born with and you build on as you get older. So keep in mind about these 7 primal movements. And I also mentioned in the first webinar that I did that in the 50s, there was no such word as I'm going to go to, nobody said, I'm going to the gym. I have to go and pump some iron. There was none of that, because people just moved around and did what they needed to do, and they were getting their exercise. They were in the garden, and in the garden, they were doing, they're lifting, they're twisting. They had to throw stuff out. They were doing their reaching in order to pull out the onions or the potatoes. They were doing their pulling and the reaching there as well. And they had to walk from one point to the next. So they're getting all of these 7 movements in. So they did not have the pitfalls that we have today in terms of their health. They were a lot healthier, they were a lot stronger, because they were constantly moving. They had to move because they didn't have, I'm going to put in air quotes, the modern amenities of today. So they had to do everything by hand. Not to mention, they were also outdoors. So they were breathing in fresh air. They were getting exposed to the sun. So they're getting their vitamin D. So they're a lot healthier. And their food did not have pesticides and chemicals, because it was a time when those things were not as rampant. They weren't as popular. So another thing that exercise does, exercise helps to reduce anxiety, stress. When you exercise, you'll find that your body actually releases serotonin and epinephrine. And what those, and we talked about this as well, what those hormones, what they do, they actually make you feel happy. So it's that free happy drug, no cost. And actually the epinephrine also helps to give you a sense of that there's no pain. So if you're feeling some kind of pain, the epinephrine will also help with that. Now, exercise also helps your body to produce what is called neuroepinephrine. And neuroepinephrine, studies have shown that it actually helps people who are depressed to come out of their depression. And for people with high anxiety, that also helps to reduce their anxiety. So that exercise is beneficial. So remember that quote, not only good for you physically, but it's also good for you mentally and for your mood. So get out there and get some exercise. And the best place to get that exercise is in the outdoors. So exercising regularly will help to improve your mood and will also reduce your feelings of anxiety and depression. And one thing that really is important, you want to, and I tell people this, so if somebody is inactive, I'll say to them that you need to just start. And start with something simple. Start with something that's doable. So 5 minutes. And it doesn't matter how intense your exercise is, as long as you're actually doing it. That 5 minutes, but you're doing, let's say, for example, you're doing a walk for 5 minutes. Or let's say you don't have the time to go for a walk, and a 5-minute walk might seem kind of silly to you. So let's say, for example, you say you want to do sit-ups for 5 minutes. So you've chosen one exercise and you've said, for that 5 minutes, I'm going to do sit-ups. So you set your timer and you're doing your sit-ups for 5 minutes. Once the 5 minutes are done, so are you. Leave it. Come back the next day, 5 minutes again, because you can spare 5 minutes. It's when people get overwhelmed when they say, oh, I can't exercise for 15, 20, 30 an hour. I can't do that. But you can do 5 minutes. So start off with 5 minutes. And the reason why you're starting off with 5 minutes is to get you into the routine, get you into the habit. And once you start, then you'll find that, oh, wow, I feel energized. I feel my appetite is good. I'm feeling really, really good. And that will motivate you to go for 10 minutes and add 2 exercises. And then when you feel comfortable with that, then you'll go with 3 exercises, 15 minutes, until maybe your maximum time would be 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And that's it. And then you're done and you're good for the day. What I found is that depending on the type of exercise, so the high intensity exercises, they fire up your metabolism. And what I've personally found is that even hours after I've done my workout, I find that my body is still burning calories. So how do I know? I know because I'm still feeling a bit of perspiration and I'm feeling the heat. And I know that my body is burning calories. So I have to make sure that I definitely, after exercising, fuel my body because it's just burning and burning and burning. So it doesn't matter the intensity. So you just get out there and you do your workout. And the first poll, please.
All right, let me pull it. All right. Question number 1 is which movement is not a primal movement? A is running, B is walking, C is lifting, or D is throwing.
And it's just the two of us. So which one do you think?
D, throw.
You said D, throw? Well, I'm gonna cheat. I already know the answer. It's A, running. Running is not a primal movement because remember, that infant has to build up to running. So they first crawl and then they walk and then they run. So
True.
the other ones are in there. They're embedded in their little DNA.
That is true. Awesome. All right. Question number 2 is what is the feel-good chemical that exercise increases? A is serotonin and endorphins. B is norepinephrine and serotonin. C is endorphins and
Epinephrine.
norepinephrine. Or D is all of the above.
And what do you say?
A.
A. Okay, good one. Yay! So serotonin and endorphins, feel-good drugs, feel-good free drugs that your body produces, and the norepinephrine. Well, norepinephrine helps with decreasing your feeling of anxiety and depression. So, but your body also does, exercise actually does that as well. But the feel good is the serotonin and the endorphins.
Cool. Question number 3 for this section. True or false? It does not matter the intensity of exercise. A is true, B is false.
What say you?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Thank
That
you.
is true. It doesn't matter the intensity of the exercise. As long as you get out there and you start doing something, your body will recognize it and it would also help to improve your mood. Maybe that would be a motivator to continue. Oh, I need to get this because I feel so great. Yeah. All right. So next, we're looking at the exercise and what it does for you physically. So exercising, and I chose this picture because of the exercise balls. So exercise helps to strengthen your bones. It also helps, believe it or not, with memory and attention span. And the reason why that is because when you're exercising, your heart's pumping, you're taking in more oxygen, that blood goes to the brain, the oxygen goes to the brain, and it basically fires up your neurons, and you're better able to focus, and you're better able to think things through. And I'm going to tell the story of this presenter that I went to see, and he was talking about neuroplasticity and neurogenesis. And those are just big words for the brain being able to grow and also being able to retain things, big words. So he was talking, and as he spoke, I was interested, I was listening, but then he said he has an acquired brain injury. And then I had to sit up because I'm, what? He has an acquired brain injury. And at that point, I started looking for all of the signs that said he does have this condition. And it's funny because not too long before going to that presentation, I had done a course on acquired brain injury. So of course, this thing is fresh in my mind. I'm looking to see, all right, where are the telltale signs of acquired brain injury? And he didn't stutter. He didn't lose his train of thought. And I'm thinking, no way, he doesn't. So after his presentation, I went up and I said, you have an acquired brain injury? And he said, that's what the doctors tell me. And I said, but you don't have any signs of that. And he said, yeah, I know. And then he went on to tell me, he said, so what had happened, he got hit by a vehicle going 40 miles an hour, and the person swerved and actually hit him when he was on the sidewalk. And he was in the hospital, and his right side was pretty much flattened out. And he was in a cast, a body cast on his right side. And so his wife was there, and the nurse looked at her and said, he's an athlete, isn't he? And she said, yeah, because his left leg he was a cyclist. So his left leg was muscular. And she said, believe it or not, it's because of the fact that he worked out and he was in such good shape why he's alive today. So she said, wow. But aside from that, going back to his brain injury, he also talked about, they did studies and they showed the same person, they took a CAT scan of the person's brain before exercising, and the brain maybe had just one little area that was kind of sort of lit up. And then the same person, after a 20-minute exercise routine, and did the CAT scan, and all the brain was lit up like a Christmas tree. And it's like, wow, look at that. Exercise does that. So exercise causes the brain to just fire and to get invigorated and just moving. And I would like to see it at the speed of light, but no, not at the speed of light. But the neurons are firing, which means that you're now able to respond quicker to a thought process. You're able to respond to somebody talking to you and you understand quicker. And if you're studying or doing any type of equation, you're able to come up with the answer that much quicker as well. So that's part of for the brain. Also, they've also found that exercising helps with Alzheimer patients. So again, helping that brain to reconnect. And the pathway, if one pathway, the brain, our body's fantastic. If one pathway has been damaged, then the brain will actually chart its way in opening up another pathway to have the same actions done. All right, so exercising helps to strengthen the bones. And when that bone is strengthened, it's able to hold on to the calcium better. So you as you get older, and they say this, I don't agree with it, but they say as you get older, you have brittle bones. So that's why they say be careful, because if you fall and break a hip, that's pretty much it. Well, no, the reason why your hip will break or any bone will break is because your body is lacking calcium. But exercising helps your bones to stay strong, and because of its strength, it helps to maintain and retain that calcium so that you won't break your bone. Also, remember we're talking about exercising and oxygen. So by you exercising, you're also increasing the amount of oxygen that you take in. What happens there is your blood vessels actually start to expand because you're taking so much more oxygen. Your need for oxygen increases. So your extremities, so your fingers and toes, the blood vessels have now gotten bigger. So you're now able to take in more oxygen. The blood flows easier through your extremities. And therefore, you won't get cold hands and cold feet. Fantastic. So physical activity helps you build muscles and strong bones. And it also helps to prevent osteoporosis, which we want to do. We definitely want that to happen as we get older. We don't want to have soft bones. The other thing is the exercises. So there are exercises that I do. I stretch. I do stretches. I also do weight training, and I also do basically your body, use your own body weight. And I do what is called HIIT, HIIT. So HIIT stands for high intensity interval training. And what that does, it basically incorporates all of those exercises into one. So it raises, I love it because it puts you on a different level. And what this does, it gives you the weight training. It also incorporates what is called jump training. So when you go to the gym, you'll find that a lot of the workouts now incorporate jump training. And that jump training, because you're jumping and you're landing, that's part of what strengthens your bones. So they have those in each routine. Now, if you look at any type of workout that they have online, you'll see that there is some component of jumping in there. And that's the reason why, because that jumping helps to strengthen the bones. Remember what I said about strong bones? Strong bones holds calcium. You also will get that same effect by jogging or running, skipping, but the HIIT, the high intensity interval training, it covers all of that. So in my opinion, I think the HIIT training, the HIIT exercises are the best ones to do. And we'll go more into that in a little bit. So here we have so the walking, and yeah, she's actually doing a sit-up with a weighted ball. So once again, because the added weight brings a bit more intensity into the workout. So that's why people incorporate weights. It also helps to build your muscle strength, your muscle mass. Now, as a females won't necessarily bulk up as big as a male. And the reason why is because they don't have as much testosterone in their bodies as males do. Now, females have some testosterone and males have some estrogen. It's the difference being that they don't have a high amount, just like how males don't have a high amount of estrogen. So therefore you won't have, for women, you won't get that bulky feeling unless they're doing steroids. Now, I do know of some women that were not taking any type of steroid, but yet they still bulked up. And the bulk up wasn't huge. They just got a more rounded shoulder. They have more definition. So it did look a bit bigger, but it wasn't huge as Arnold Schwarzenegger. It wasn't like that. So women can use weights, and they don't have to worry about using weights because it's not going to have the same effect as it does with men. So exercise increases blood flow, and it's especially beneficial for those who are older. And the reason why is because it helps with brain function, it helps with strengthening the bones, and by doing this, they'll have a better quality of life. And I know because I'm up there with I'm gonna say the seasoned. I'm seasoned. Like fine wine. I'm there. Okay. Our next poll, please.
All right, we are going to our second poll. All right, question number 1 is what is the best overall exercise? A is running, B is walking, C is HIIT, which is our HIIT, or D is sleeping.
Which one say you? Sleeping?
Yes, for me, it's sleeping, Mark.
That high intensity interval training. That's the one I pick. That's the one I want to do. That's the one I do.
Sounds about right.
Mm.
Question number 2. Why is HIIT or HIIT exercise a better form of exercise? A. It makes your muscle work. B. It burns calories. C. It promotes sweat. Or D. All of the above.
Which one do you pick?
I think it's D. All of the above.
I'm with you. All of the above. So HIT will do all of those and more. And our last question.
Our last question is which exercise is most beneficial? A is lifting weights, B is mini trampoline, C is running or jogging, or D is stretching.
Hmm. Which one do you think?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Mm, hard to tell. I'll go with because this is what I do. I stretch, so I'll go with stretching.
So when you stretch, think about this. So when you stretch, how many calories do you think you're burning by stretching? Now,
Low.
stretching is good. Stretching, I won't knock stretching because you need to stretch. But so stretching will help with the weightlifting, the mini trampolining, and the running slash jogging. That's what stretching will help with. So before and after those activities. But when it comes to burning calories and getting those muscles to actually do some kind of weight bearing, the stretching won't do that for you. So in my estimation, I prefer the mini trampoline because the mini trampoline, you can incorporate weights in your mini trampoline. You can do some component of running slash jogging on the mini trampoline. And the benefit of that mini trampoline is that you won't be causing any excess torque on your joints. So the pounding, so when you're running on pavement or you're running outside, there's constant pounding. And some people end up with shin splints. Some may end up with, sprained ankles or the twisting of the ankle. And it's a lot of pounding. So it also affects your spinal cord because we're not supposed to be standing erect because there's a lot of pound per square inch on each vertebrae. the mini trampoline actually helps to alleviate those pounding, that stress on the spine and the joints. So the mini trampoline is the best in my opinion, because you can do so much with it and not have any of the negative side effects of the others.
All in one.
All in one. So these are the different type of exercises. So I recommend that each home should have an exercise ball and a mini trampoline. And the reason why is because the mini trampoline is very versatile. So is the ball. The ball, you can do different things on the ball as well. So see how they're sitting on the ball? They're actually working their core, which is your abs and your lower back, and your glutes, your posterior, your glutes. That's also part of your core, but you're not really working that by sitting, but you're working your abs and your back by doing this. Plus also, it works your small muscles, your proprioceptor muscles, and especially doing this kind of stuff. And if you close your eyes, it just intensifies it. So your proprioceptor muscles lets your body know where you are in space. So that's why when you slip, you'll slip, not necessarily fall. Those muscles, they're activate and they, whoop, there you are, and they get you right. And remember I talked about the mini trampoline, and they're also called rebounders. So you can get ones with the handles. So if you're not quite stable, you can actually hold onto the handle, and that will help you to stay upright and not lose your balance. Now, this individual, he just came off the trampoline just a little bit, and you don't even need to come off the trampoline to get the same effect. So just by bouncing on your toes and down, you'll get the same benefit. So it will still cause that movement. That movement will still cause your bone as if you're getting that impact, and that will still strengthen your bones and your joints, and it won't cause any ill effects on your joints. So your knees, your ankles, your hips, your back won't be bothered because of that. So I do the rebounder. Actually use the rebounder as a warm-up, and then and you can do HIIT training on a rebounder as well. I'll just show you real fast because I see the time. So what I do, okay, let me come back. Share screen. All right, so when I do rebounding, there you are, rebounding HIIT. So there are different ones that happen. So let's say, for example, when I do this one, for example, really, oh, I hate commercials on the internet. All right. So this is, I wouldn't recommend this for beginners, but she's high intensity, and the amount of bouncing that she's doing, it's not going to cause any aches in her knees or ankles or hips anywhere. But you're still getting the benefit. And look at her, she's sweating. And there are different routines that she does. And then there are the ones that you can actually incorporate weights as well. There's one with the weights. And when you're doing this, you wouldn't necessarily need to have heavy weights. So maybe a 2 pound or even a 1 pound weight, because the amount of times that you're doing one particular action, it's a lot. And you get the weight bearing exercises, plus also the cardio effect, plus also you're getting the oxygen intake because of the amount of exercise, the intensity of the exercise, and your heart rate it spikes up. So really, really intense. All right, And stop share. There we go. So that's what that's all about. And then you can do ball exercise as well, like I said, and the ball is very versatile. You can work every body part with that ball. You can do from your shoulders to your back, your chest, your stomach, everything, your legs, you name it. Very versatile. And the thing is with the ball, they're inexpensive. So what you want to make sure you do when you purchase a ball, you want to purchase it according to your height. When you sit on the ball, your knees should not be higher than your hip. So your hip and your knees should be on the same level. And if you're the harder the ball, the harder the exercise, the harder it is for you to actually keep your balance. So you start out with it a little bit soft, and as you get better, more proficient, then you increase the air so that the ball becomes harder. And then you want to, when you sit on the ball, try different things. So you'll try first, and I always recommend that when you're exercising on the ball, you're barefoot, because that also helps you be grounded. So you start off with barefoot and you're sitting there, and then when you get comfortable with that, then you close your eyes, and that changes the dynamics as well. So you just keep on doing different things, and you become stronger with each day, and you get more, your lungs can take in more oxygen, and like I said, your blood vessels, they expand, and you're taking more nutrients in, and your brain will just be, oh, I'm a human computer, look at me go. That's it for my presentation.
Thank you so much, Mark, for a wonderful presentation about exercise. I personally learned a lot as well about it. I guess we're going to open it up to questions for another wonderful session. If you like to see Mark, catch Mark for another session, come and join us every Tuesday and Thursday for the month of August until the end of August for a wonderful sessions with Mark. Once again, thank you, Mark, and hope to see everyone.
My pleasure.
Soon.
Thanks, Nina.
Thank you, Mark.